Before we get into this one, if you could just hit that subscribe button down below, that would mean a massive amount to me. But without further ado, let's get into the video. This video is going to be about Leeds United's squad and where it kind of needs to be to not have a repeat of this season next season, and to do a lot better in the league. So the first thing I think we need to take into account is that the powers that be at the club, namely Angus Kinnear and Victor Orta, have said that they'd like to keep a similar squad size of around 18 that's then supplemented by under 23s players to promote the growth from the 23s to the first team. So we've got to bear that in mind, even though a lot of us think that 18 is too small of a squad size given the injury problems that we've had this season. It's been exposed to show that we really need more depth. So I'm going to bear it in mind and try and roughly stick to that. But what I'm going to do today is go through the squad of the current first team players, including a couple that are going to come back from loans, and we're going to basically say they need to stay or they need to go. And the third option is, I want them to stay and we all want them to stay, but they probably will go. So let's get straight into it with goalkeepers. Meslier, we all want him to stay. He's had a little bit of a tricky season, but then how can you not when you've got that defence in front of you conceding so many chances? So I don't think we can take much by that, and he has actually saved us a couple of times, even at Southampton at the weekend. Brilliant save by Meslier. Christopher Claassen, he's only ever actually made one first team appearance, so he's kind of as under 23's goalkeeper as a backup to Meslier, and when he did come in against Wolves he did pretty well, so it's not like we nearly need to get rid of him. We may need to add another more experienced keeper in there, but we'll talk about that a bit later on in the video. Then Llorente, Koch, Strauch and Cooper, our four centre-backs. Now a lot of people say that Cooper wasn't good enough for this Leeds team, and I don't think he's out and out our best defender, but I think he's our best defensive leader, and I think that makes a big difference having your captain on the field. Against Southampton the other week, he was really good. He was commanding and he was strong, and it's his vocal sort of presence that can actually make a big difference. So I think Cooper's got to stay. Llorente and Koch. There's been some rumours about Koch saying that they might be open to offers for him, but I think he's got such a high ceiling and we've never really seen him have a great run in the team. I would like to see him probably get in the team over Llorente for a few weeks just to see how he goes, because I think he's got the potential to actually be better than Llorente and not have that completely mad streak that he's got. Llorente, obviously we only signed him the summer before last, so he's only been with us a year and a half, 2 years. And I think he needs to stay as well because he's a good option there. And I don't think we get much money for him even if we did try to sell him. So I think our four centre-back options are good. I think it was just the system that was letting them down. A lot of people have criticised our defence this season, and obviously it hasn't been great. But having said that, the actual defenders themselves, given more of a less expansive system and more of a zonal marking philosophy, they're actually going to be a lot better than they were, I think, and I don't think we really need to change our centre-backs at all. Junior Firpo now. Really, I should have created a fourth category, really, which is needs to leave but won't, because we only signed him last summer, and I think he's one of those where I think it was a little bit of an ego signing from the board. It was a little bit of a, oh, we've signed a player from Barcelona and it makes the fans happy. It's a bit of a crowd pleaser. But I don't think it's paid off. He hasn't had a massive amount of run time in the team really this season, consecutive games. He's been in and out, but then he's also been in and out of form. I don't think he's been great. I think it was a bad decision all round. And there are rumours that we are looking at that Spanish left back whose name escapes me from the Belgian league, who's been doing really good this season. I think his first name is Sergio, so you may be able to find it from that, I don't know, but I think that speaks volumes that we might be looking at another left back. That Firpo just has not been good enough this season. Maybe the new formation, the new system, the new way of defending will help him out, but I'm not sure because I just don't trust him defensively. I think Dallas is a lot better there, and Dallas isn't even a left back, so I think Junior Firpo, I'd like him to go, but I don't think he will. Luke Ayling, he's definitely turned his form around this season towards where we are right now making this video. His form's definitely come back, and against Wolves he proved why he's a great leader and actually a great player as well. So I think we definitely need to keep Ayling even if we do bring in somebody to supplement that at the right back, so maybe even that's Cody Drammer now that we've had a change of managers. Cody Drammer might get more of a chance in the first team, or he might get more action from the bench. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see what we do there. I think we'd probably stick with what it is, keep Cody Drammer as a backup, Luke Ayling as first choice, and I don't think that'll be where we allocate funds this summer. Stuart Dallas, got to stay. All-rounder, brilliant in every position he plays. There's not much to be said about that. Stuart Dallas has got to say he's great. Calvin Phillips. Now, this is one where you might think I'm going to put him in the he should stay but will go category, and it was kind of a toss-up between those and stay. But I don't think he's going to go, and the reason for that is, we'll talk about Rafinha now as well. I think Rafinha, we want him to stay but will go. I think if we sell Rafinha, the money from that will allow us to be in a lot more of a comfortable position in the transfer window to not have to sell Calvin Phillips. We won't be in a position where we need the money from the sale. And I think Calvin, it's the right choice between those two of which one to keep, because he's the local lad. He's grown up in Leeds. He supports Leeds. He loves Leeds. So I think we keep hold of Calvin this summer, but Rafinha goes. And I don't think that's controversial, to be honest. I think that's what most Leeds fans would want. And there was a lot of rumours that Man United are in for him, but I can't see that. I mean, it's happened before with Cantona, Alan Smith, etc. But it's one of those where Calvin just doesn't seem like the type of player to do that, especially considering he would have other options from elsewhere if he was to leave. So I think he's going to stay, and I think Rafinha's going to go, but I would have liked to have kept Rafinha, obviously. Click and Forshaw are interesting ones, because I think I'd like them to stay even if they become backup options off the bench, really. I think we should sign a new holding midfielder to play alongside Calvin Phillips, and I think I've mentioned in one of my previous videos about 3 transfers we should make this summer. That is Kefren Thuram, Lilian Thuram's son, who's playing for OGC Nice in France. So if you want to check that video out, there's a lot more detail on him in there. But I think we should sign somebody like that to supplement Calvin in that double pivot role. So I think Click and Forshaw will be good bench options, and it really strengthens our position when you've got types of players like them to bring off the bench, rather than them starting and then having to bring off teenagers off the bench to play in those positions. So I think that'll put us in a really strong position squad-wise if we were to do that. Dan James and Jack Harrison, interesting ones, because they're both wingers and we don't really play with out-and-out wingers anymore. So what I think will happen is one of them will drop to the bench and the other one will play. Probably Harrison will play and James will drop to the bench, and maybe Brendan Aronson, if we are to sign him, will play the other wide attacking midfield position. I think that could be a good option in there. I just don't think that Dan James has got the skill set to play as an attacking midfielder. So now we've spent £25 million on him as a winger. It puts us in a bit of a difficult position. We're not going to sell him, but I don't think he's really suited massively to this system. He's suited to the pressing style of it, but his actual link-up play is not fantastic. He's just good at running in behind, basically, and pressing. So I think James could drop to the bench, Harrison will start, and then the other position probably filled by Brendan Aronson if he is to come in. Rodrigo. Now, Rodrigo's an interesting one. There is actually going to be a video coming out soon about why Rodrigo will do really well in this formation, so look out for that one. But Rodrigo definitely needs to stay, because I think he's going to be pivotal to what Jesse Marsch wants to do with this team. So stay tuned for that video when I talk about that in more detail. Tyler Roberts. It's time to go, I think, for Tyler Roberts. I think I'm a very level-headed Leeds fan, a level-headed football fan in general, and I like to think that I've given him so much chance. I've never really slagged him off. I've said that maybe he's not good enough, which I think is a fair criticism, and maybe his final ball and his end product isn't fantastic. His goal contributions are down, and I have said this before, but I don't criticise him often because I don't really see the point in it. We all know that we don't really think he's good enough for this team, but I think now he's sort of, as harsh as it sounds, outlived his usefulness. I think if we're to sign some new players and we want to keep the squad size down, especially we're signing new players in his position, namely probably Brendan Aronson, Roberts is kind of rendered useless in this team, as harsh as that sounds. So I think Roberts really needs to be sold to either a championship team or maybe somebody in lower down the league in the first division in Germany might take him, because those are the sorts of deals that they like to do over there. So maybe he could have a little bit of a rebirth at somewhere else, but I think we should probably try and sell him and get £5-10 million for him, if that. Patrick Bamford, he's got to stay, because when he has come in under Jesse Marsh, we've played so much better. In that first half against Norwich, and then the time he was on against Wolves, those were our strongest patches in those games, other than obviously the mental stuff that happened at the end of the Wolves game, but you know what I mean. He's in the middle, he's a focal point, he's someone to play off, and he's not just running in behind all the time like Dan James, which is not his skill set to do anything else. So I'm not criticising Dan James for that, but Bamford just gives us a whole different style of play, so I think that's excellent. Gelhardt has to stay for me, because even if he goes a few years down the line, if he can get a little bit more first team action, get a few goals and stuff, his price could skyrocket given the potential that he's got once the whole Premier League sees how good he can be. I think it's important that we keep him and we slowly get him more and more game time until he might eventually be like a first team starter. So I think that's important to keep him, because eventually he could be worth a lot of money, if nothing else. Now we move on to the 3 loan players. So Casilla, he went out to Elche on loan, and I don't even think he gets first team games anymore because of some of his performances. So he's got to leave. I mean, even if he retires or we release him, he's just got to go, because even if he's on the bench and the keeper gets injured, you're tempted to bring him on because he's your option, he's your experienced goalkeeper, and if you do, he's got mistakes in him, he's got terrible mistakes in him. So I think Casilla, I mean, I think it was my second ever video, January last year, when I said that it was after the Crawley game, and the title was basically "Sell him now." So that's how long Casilla's been needing to leave Leeds United, really. Fans don't really like him, don't rate him, and I think it's probably time for him to go. Jan Poveda is a bit of a strange one. Now, some people would say that they'd be happy for him to leave, but I like to keep him, to be honest. If you've seen his Instagram and stuff recently, he's put on a lot of timber, a lot of muscle, and he seems like he's been told that he's too easy to knock off the ball, and whilst he's been injured, he's thought, right, I'm just going to get jacked then. And he seems like he's a bit of a beast now, so he'd be a whole new animal bringing him back into the team again. I think he could actually be a really good addition, because his dribbling was something that was really good at unbalancing opponents. He would dribble down the wing, he would be tricky, send players the wrong way, unbalance opponents basically, and then get the ball in the box. And I think he could be excellent at doing that in this formation if he was to be converted to a bit more of an attacking midfielder. He's still young, he's still got bags and bags of potential, so I think we definitely need to keep him. And I'm going to keep him over Helder Costa, and I think Helder Costa should go. Helder Costa showed signs of being good in the Championship. He did a little bit in the first season back in the Premier League, but I think it's time for players like Poveda to come in and see what they can do over Helder Costa, because we've seen him now for 3 or 4 years. And I think if Valencia are willing to pay the fee to make that loan deal permanent, then we just should take it all day, and it'll add towards our sort of war chest for signings this summer. So as you'll see from the graphics all the way through that I'll add in post, you can see where all the players are and where I think they should be at the end of this season. So if you want to check out the transfers that I want to bring in when these players go, so I think we've got rid of 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got rid of 4 players, and I've said that we want to bring in 3 in that video that I did. So if you want to check that out, that's already been in the cards, but I'll link it again. And you can check out those players as well, and I'll probably do some more videos like that in the future. So that's what I think the Leeds United squad needs to do, basically. There's not a wholesale change, but I think there's 4 players that need to go, and 1 player that we want to stay but will go. So that frees up space for 4 or 5 signings in the summer window. I don't think we'll make 4 or 5, but we could make at least 3. So I'd be happy with that, and I think it would definitely make a difference in our team if we were to bring in some players of a little bit higher quality into the system. So yeah, I think that's where we are with the squad at the moment. I think people panic a lot when we've had this season like this, but the injuries cannot be underestimated, and I don't think we need wholesale changes. We just need a few players to go and a few players to come in of better quality, and I think that elevates us to a higher finish next season. I think we could finish around mid-table if we were to do that. So yeah, that's my thoughts on the current Leeds United squad and the situation at Leeds United. So thanks for watching this one, and I'll see you next time.